before you say anything, AJ, Twitch, of course, is on delay as usual. But thanks for joining us for our recap of The Mandalorian. We have the usual team here. To my right, I have D. What's up, D?
Hey, it's the wrong way.
I mean, it's my right. So,
but yes, it's me. Hi, guys.
and we also have Courtney. What's up, Courtney?
Hi, I'm here. I'm actually very sober for once because I'm giving my liver a break after this week.
And we also have a new special guest today. He's never been on a show with us. Mr. Darth Brooks. How's it going, Mr. Brooks?
I would just like to point out to you, the viewer, that they are giving me grief about. Well, Courtney's giving me grief about this name for some unknown reason.
You should be getting grief for the name.
Why should I be getting grief for the name? It literally came to me as I was logging in. I was like,
you know what?
You know what?
That's the one, Darth Brooks.
It's not filthy. It's clever.
We can never know peace here.
No, Courtney, you're the reason we can never know peace here. I don't want to hear it. Also, I was looking it up, and Sasha Banks is not playing.
Okay. She is or isn't?
Isn't.
For sure. Wow. I was like, well, that would have been a good fit. So now I'm interested.
There's a leak saying that she is someone who is formerly a servant of Vader.
Interesting.
Although Sabine would have worked, but
it would have worked perfectly, in my opinion.
But apparently, that is not the case. As the Reddit leaks have said, let it reeks.
The let it reeks.
That's gonna be my name next week. Let it reek.
So yeah, let's get into this episode. What did everyone think? Let's go with D first.
Oh, I just want to say first thing first. Rest in peace.
Of course. Oh, yeah, the OG. Yes.
The great OG.
Yes. You
will be missed dearly.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Jeopardy just won't be the same. Sorry. I don't know. The episode, I mean, it was, I'm just here so I won't get fined. So y'all go for it.
All right, Courtney,
what happened outside of the child eating oversized caviar and shit.
Like I said, I have a take, so hang on to that.
I have takes too. I have like very strong takes.
Go ahead, Courtney.
But I just want to remind everyone that it was me. I begged D to be here because AJ, Ron, and I are kind of nerds, and we need someone that's more mainstream into Star Wars to remind us when we're going too far.
We don't.
Bring it in.
We spent our episode last week could have only been 20 minutes. We stopped talking about the Mandalorian at the 20-minute mark, and it was an hour and 17 minutes.
I mean, to be fair, we do that with everything, whether it's here or not. I'm
gonna tell you now, that's how it's gonna be tonight because But
I have takes though, because I disagree with a lot of people are saying about the episode. But you know what? I don't like spiders. And this episode was not for me. I do not like spiders. And it's not big spiders. I don't like lots of small spiders.
I mean, this episode was basically arachnophobia on ice.
I'm not watching Star Wars to be scared.
Again, along with the child doing some wild shit. But
it was hilarious. I'm sorry. That was hilarious.
The whole episode was basically the Joe Budden stop. As soon as I saw the big eyes like staring, I was like, he's gonna eat it. He wants to eat that. And I thought it was hilarious. It's just like the baby Yoda is not all that cute, it is carnivorous. Eating babies.
And in the fact that they're like the last
Republicans' worst fear is Baby Yoda, because Baby Yoda's out here eating babies.
So yeah, let me go ahead and get my spill off. So once again, this episode is formatted like the Western TV shows of like the olden days. Like there would be like a almost like a villain of the week or like a storyline of the week, but there's an overarching story that goes with it. Last week we praised the episode for not giving in to like what would be fan service, which would be making Mando like not the focal point, but pushing Baby Yoda. I'm pretty sure you two know. I mean, well, you three know where I'm going with this already. It's not a problem yet because I still enjoyed the episode, but I don't want this show to go to a place where Baby Yoda does something, Mendo has to get him out of trouble. Baby Yoda does something, and I don't want it to be almost like
the Baby Yoda show.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like the the when Mary Kate and Ashley were on Full House, like they were there for like comedic relief, basically. I don't want this show to turn into that. And also, I will say this: given that it has that Western format, I know that there's going to be basically one mission or one like small story every week, but we still have things that are unfinished, and I think this show can still have like one story per week, but at the same time, you still have to like foreshadow or allude to like what's coming down the road. Like, let's not, let's basically like give us a little more to like let us know what's coming. And like I say, it's not a problem. I still enjoyed the episode minus the spiders.
This series is basically Kindergarten Cop. Like this, you got the tough guy being
not wrong.
Do y'all know how many episodes there are going to be this season?
I think it's 8.
I think it's 8. So I actually have a theory based off this, and I'm hoping it goes in the direction that we're hoping, Ron. But I kind of want to talk about it towards the end, so that we can kind of talk about the episode. But I want to get into it at the end.
Okay.
So if we want to kind of,
I didn't know if I should call it a filler episode because I didn't know if it meant anything.
I think it is kind of a filler episode, and what I'll say is I think it is a filler episode, but I think it's an episode that will have implications for later on that will like actually lead to something.
Well, I know what episode Ahsoka is showing up.
Oh, what'd you just do?
What'd you do?
Oh no, I just watched the episode list and I saw who wrote, like Carl Weathers wrote episode 4.
Oh, Carl Weathers wrote. Oh, that's cool.
No, he's directing episode 4. Jon Favreau wrote the first 4 episodes, and then the episode 5 is directed and written by Filoni, which means that his creations are going to show up.
Yeah, that's
it's always like the Game of Thrones. Whenever they had the George R. Martin episode, it's like this is where we're going to have actual book elements of the show.
Yeah, so episode 5 is when we can expect to see Ahsoka and or Sabine show up, because why would you drag Dave Filoni out of his George Lucas man cave? I want to
know who they have as Sabine now.
Why are you
it's not Sasha Banks.
Who is Filoni?
Dave Filoni.
Right. Okay.
That's right. You don't know. See, that's
Dave Filoni was basically the creator, showrunner, executive producer, all that shit for Clone Wars, Star Wars, Clone Wars, Rebels, and he's like the guy that George Lucas trusts the most in the world with Star Wars, like lore. Like
which is
George
not
Lucas,
easy to do.
Yeah, he's probably the only person that George Lucas like. He could go to George Lucas with a story and it get his blessing, probably without him ever even reading it. Or if it's some shit that George wouldn't do, he trusts him enough to like go that direction with it. Like
because he actually has changed when it comes to Clone Wars. Like he has actually like gone to George for ideas and then actually disagreed and went his own route. And George was like, actually, yeah, I think your idea is better. So which is how
Do y'all have a name? You know, like how Star Trek fans have their Trekkies or Star Wars people. Is there a name for y'all?
The worst fan base on the internet.
Yeah, Brooks. Yeah. But anyway, like basically, like Courtney said, the worst.
Darth haters. They are Darth haters.
Darth haters. Yeah.
Trademark AJ.
They hate every fucking thing.
The worst. Like really, I'm in a lot of like nerd fandoms. Star Wars is the worst out of everything, the most toxic fandom, and it's like multi-generational with how toxic it is.
Yes,
that's
it's like spanning 3 lines of family of like watching Star Wars and only liking the like original. Like the original 3 is the only shit the Star Wars fans like, and even they hate that shit. Like
my dad's the only exception. My dad's kind of like
saber green. What? You know,
my dad's like I'm just here to have a good time, and if I'm entertained, I'm good.
Yeah.
So that's my dad. I'm like, bless you. Don't go on the internet and look up opinions. Then, Dad.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, but I like this episode. I mean, like I said, it wasn't really anything like consequential. You know, it was
fun to
like
watch.
Seeing the X-wings and stuff was cool. Like, you know.
I like how the Republic basically were just the police. It's just
that was cool. You know, like I said, it was wild just seeing Baby Yoda just like run up and eat some lady's kids. Like basically, like what, like why are you doing that?
And like even at the end, it's like when you think Baby Yoda felt bad, it's just like nope. Let me get some of that.
It's like 12 of them in there. They'll one more won't hurt.
Someone did the math, and they think that he ate like a third of the eggs.
He did.
He ate a bunch of them, but it looked like it was way more than I thought when she was getting them out of the hot spring. Mm-hmm. It was a bunch.
Yeah, so Baby Yoda ate a lot of the eggs.
He ate a lot of them. Yeah. But anyway, y'all go ahead, get into it.
But yeah, so I guess I'll kind of do like a brief review just based off of memory and not anything. So, I forget what's the lady's name with the curly hair. I forget her name with the droids. And so he's gonna go try to find, I think, someone that can help him figure out what to do with this baby. And lady's like, "Hey, can you stow away this frog thing, lady?" I don't know the name of the species. Some of these species I'm not familiar with at all. But and he's like, "Ugh, fine," because Mandalorians are supposed to be, they uphold honor in their deals and whatnot. From what I can tell about the Mandalorian is he actually wants to be a helpful and honorable person, so he agrees to it. And he can't go into hyperspace, and I'm glad they at least made it logical. He can't go into hyperspace because the pressure will kill the eggs, so they have to kind of just go low and slow. And he doesn't have his beacon on. Which this is, I think we said it was 5 years post. So the Republic's kind of running shit, and they're like, and they find him because he finally goes to sleep. We actually see him sleep for once, and they're like, "Hey, you don't have your beacons on. Who the fuck are you?" And so push comes to shove. He's like, "I'm not about to show you my plates." So because he's got outstanding warrants, so he rushes and he kind of gets stranded on this ice planet, running from them. And while trying to figure out what's going on, the frog lizard lady keeps begging. It's like, "Hey, if we don't get to this planet this time, my eggs are gonna die." And she uses the droid to kind of talk to him. She's like, "Aren't you supposed to be honorable in this and that?" I did like that bit of dialogue. But Baby Yoda, going to what Ron said, Baby Yoda, while she's in the hot springs just chilling with her babies, Baby Yoda kind of strands away and gets in a different kind of egg, which are spiders, and there's tons of these eggs. And a bunch of spiders start hatching, and then there's medium-sized spiders, and then there's this massive-ass spider that comes out. And then my worst nightmare, because again, I don't care about big spiders, is the tiny ones when it's like a mini of them. That's whatever the name of that special kind of arachnophobia is, that's fine. But they got to run off, and it looks like they're about to be done for, and I get grossed out because the whatever part of the ship has spider webs all over. The Republic ships actually save him because I think he turned his beacon on while he was turning everything on. So they are like, "Well, basically, you've done these shitty things, but you've also helped us, so we're just going to let you go with a warning this time." So
they could just told that nigga that from the beginning.
Yeah, seriously.
They could just be like, "Hey, bro, did you do this foul shit? I mean,
he didn't
to arrest you, but
he ran though."
Yeah, but
I mean, they did try to give him a chance, but while he was running, they could have been like, "Hey, man, we ain't trying to arrest you. Like, chill out."
But I think they also didn't know who he was carrying because they heard the frog lady, and I do appreciate that they had her actually hopping because she's a frog. That was great. I was like, those are the good details I appreciate. But yeah, basically they're kind of limping towards their next destination because the ship's really fucked up. Can I get into my theory about why this episode is actually kind of important?
Yes, go right ahead.
So I think it matters with the beacon. I think that they made a point to have him turn, because I think the beacon is still on because he's in Republic space and he can't go to hyperspeed. I think that's how Boba Fett's going to find wherever he is. Because that beacon is on. So I think it's going to be one of those things that's like, it's insignificant at the time, but it turns out like that's how Boba Fett's going to somehow be able to track him and find him out in later episodes. So I think it's going to be one of those things. Possibly. I think I'm going to.
Like, he ain't look like he had much.
He'll find a way. He'll find a way.
Just going back to Jack unless
he is with the Empire. He is with the Empire. So it's
run that starship.
But
I think clone of who again?
Oh, so Boba Fett is So he is the clone of his father, Jango Fett, who is the template for all of the stormtroopers in the Clone Wars.
Okay.
But he was raised as his son.
There's some debate as to whether or not they are actual Mandalorians. Nelson, shut the fuck up. There's some debate as to whether or not they are actual Mandalorians because they removed their helmets in front of others.
But yeah, I think that this is because it would be very in tune with how the show's character is and the personality of the show. If it was like, oh, this is insignificant now, but it's like, oh shit, by having the beacon on, we got tracked. So and we'll lead to whatever in the climax. So I think for now it's a filler. I'm hoping it's significant because I'm like, why would they make the beacon a thing? Why would they make the beacon a thing? So I think it's going to be more significant. I'm hoping than some people are fearing.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like this. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like this episode was like most of these episodes pretty contained. But I still trust the writers. So like you said, that minor detail could make more sense later. And
a very butterfly effect type of thing.
Yeah, because as he was as Mando was trekking through the desert or whatever, like they did make it a point to show you like the Boba Fett helmet. Like they want you to know that him carrying the armor is still very much a thing. So like you say, I think that could potentially have a payoff later. So like I said, I still trust the writers. I just don't want the a Baby Yoda problem to happen, and I can see that happening. Yeah,
I really hope. That was my fear with the amount of hype that the last season got. I was like, if they run this shit into the ground with Baby Yoda, I'm gonna be pissed. Like again, in increments. Like that last episode, like we can have Baby Yoda centric episodes, but the last episode that was great. You didn't have to have much of Baby Yoda. You don't have to have him all the time. So I'm hoping they kind of stick to their guns, where it's like he's not. It's not like, oh look, Baby Yoda, ha ha. You know what I mean? So,
what does it take for him to do something? Because the whole time they were running from the spiders, I'm like, why won't he do something? Like, is it take a massive amount of
still a toddler? Still a toddler.
His powers aren't like they tax him a great deal. So like even when he does use his powers, he typically like passes out. So I think for him to use his powers, it has to be like he has to see that Mando can't do it. And that they're all in trouble, and that's like typically when he decides to use his powers. From what like
this is the only way to get us out of this situation. Okay.
Right, it's kind of like
like this is the way.
I don't know. I don't know if the Force would have 100% helped with the spiders.
Yeah,
at that point with the strength that Baby Yoda has. So and Baby Yoda's still a toddler. Like I don't. It was terrifying.
I just remember seeing him do something last season. And I was like, okay, well, when's he gonna do something? But I had forgotten.
Yeah, like he lifted the mud horn up. He lifted the mud horn up for Mando in like the second episode, I think. But like even then, like he went to sleep afterwards, and then he healed like Grief Karga's injury, and then it takes like he has to see somebody like in mortal danger before. And I think for him, it's like an innate thing. Like with their species, is probably like it's like reflex. It's like fight or flight for them. I don't know that he consciously knows how to use his powers necessarily. And if he does, he probably can't. Yeah, and he probably can't use it like a great deal consciously either. It has to be like something triggered in him to, let his powers go.
I mean, just like anyone that's force sensitive, but I'm guessing they're kind of leading to the fact that Yoda wasn't an anomaly, that possibly that whole species is just very in tune with the Force. Are they still running with midichlorians, or have they like?
No.
I was gonna say,
we don't acknowledge midichlorians.
Yeah, I was like, please.
They was like, wait a minute, hold on. Never mind.
Because I'm like, maybe they can make the case that they just have more, but thank God they just threw that out.
D, I see you leaning in. Okay, D, I see you leaning in. So I'll take this one. So
yeah, take that.
All right. All right, so long story short, George Lucas, while he was in college, he discovered a movie called The Hidden Fortress by Akira Kurosawa, a Japanese director. And in this movie, there's this life force that flows through nature, that flows through humans. Some people basically it connects us all, and some people know how to harness it. Other people don't. That was basically the template for the Force. The Force runs through us all. And the Jedi, you know, they basically train people on how to harness that energy. But in the prequel trilogy, they introduced something very interesting called a midichlorian.
That's
So
a generous way to say is interesting. You're being generous here.
So yeah, Qui-Gon approaches young Anakin, and he was like, he has a high midichlorian count. So midichlorians are like particles, and species can have like a high count of midichlorians, and that equates to basically a higher force.
Not just particle. It's like a microscopic life form that has
it's like a life form.
With humans. It's like an amoeba or some shit. It's like an amoeba that gives you powers, and the
almost
more
like
of it you have, the bigger shit you could move, basically.
And just as stupid as that sounds to you right now, that's how dumb it was to us back then. So
here's the thing: in the prequels, the movies, like they brushed over it. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, and like because
the reaction of it was so like it was like he was watching DBZ or some shit. Like, oh look, powerless. What? His midichlorian count is over 9,000.
Instead of leaving the Force, where it's just like, it's just this mystical thing that's very mysterious. They had to make it sciencey, and it made it so stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
so thank God they went back to that.
But I mean, like with Yoda, like with Yoda species, there was another Yoda, a female Yoda on the council in episode 1, and then they brushed over that shit too. Because it was like, hey, wait a minute, y'all said he wasn't doing that, and so she was there, and then suddenly the Clone Wars happens, and
not there anymore.
You don't ever see her again in Attack of the Clones, Clone Wars, or
I think they're gonna explore. They're gonna explore that possibly that whole species is super in tune with the Force, because for like a child, like a toddler of any kind of species, to have that type of Force capability, you don't really see. Mm-hmm. So that's the significance of Baby Yoda being able to do that, and not just that it's Yoda species.
I mean, I kind of feel like Anakin might have been able to do some shit like that if he had gotten to.
If they would have explored it, but they never did.
So what? Say it again. Midichlorian.
Like midi, M-I-D-I. Then like
chlorians.
So midichlorians, are they a people, or are they the thing that is inside whatever the?
It's like a microscopic. Like think of like how like a
think of an amoeba. Or a bacteria,
or like how like a bacteria, or maybe like a parasite works. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that.
Yeah,
it's very stupid. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense.
But what they do is they take a sample of your blood.
But it's a good parasite when it comes to the Force.
Yeah, it has a symbiotic relationship, so it feeds off of us.
You say a parasite, I always think negative. Okay.
Yeah, it's a symbiotic.
It's not supposed to make sense, so don't try to make it make sense. So don't, because I see you trying to make it make sense. It doesn't.
Think of it as like the symbiote from Spider-Man. It's like that.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way.
It's like this thing that bonds with you and gives you power.
Okay.
In return for living off it.
I will say I'm intrigued by like
tapeworm.
Yeah,
I was thinking tapeworm. So a parasite though, just not negative.
Because tapeworms have some benefits. They can help you lose weight if that's what you're.
They could kill you too.
If that, I actually so randomly, like when I first found out what the fuck tapeworms were in like 7th or 8th grade, one of our biology teacher was like, if you want to see if you have a tapeworm, like don't eat anything all day and leave a bowl of milk out in front of your face. And a tapeworm will come out if that's the
yeah.
I never heard that. I found out about it on Animal Planet.
Yeah, it'll come up and like go for the first food that's there. So if you ever suspect that you have one, great way to figure that out. I don't recommend it.
Also, if you're infected by rabies, you have a strong reaction to a glass of water. Don't ask me how I know that.
Here's the thing: because it's aquaphobic, if you start showing symptoms of rabies, you're gonna die.
Yeah,
That is the only 100%, I think, with the exception of one person, 100% fatality virus. That's why if you get bitten by a wild animal, you're supposed to get the shots, no matter what. And y'all need to stop fucking with raccoons, by the way. What is wrong with you?
not just raccoons.
Oh my God.
Come on.
All right. So
anyway, I also was kind of intrigued that they name dropped Luke, and I'm hoping that they stick to the word, that they're not going to involve any of the big three. But I guess it was just a fan service to name Luke to just get people to shut up, because people like the Fairweather fans are like, I want these people. I'm like, I'm done with the Skywalkers. I don't want to hear anything about a Skywalker for the rest of my life. That's it. No one.
Nah, I don't think we'll get anything Skywalker related unless somehow they bring it up with Ahsoka. Although I've heard that there's rumor of not just Ahsoka, but whoever the little fucking kid from Rebels is showing
finally,
up.
Luke had heard of, in Clone Wars, like Luke had heard of Ahsoka, but that's it. It never went more than that. They never.
I don't even know that Luke ever heard of Ahsoka.
No, I think towards the end, it's like they hinted that he knew of her, but they never ever met.
Luke.
Yeah.
Was Luke the
Luke
last
isn't anywhere
time?
in Clone Wars.
No, not even in it. I'm just talking about like in conversation, dialogue. I'm almost certain. I have to go back.
Yeah, I'll never recall that. I know in Rebels they get into the idea of like being able to time travel through the Force, but I don't know that.
Wait, huh?
But I think it was a kind of just like a passing thing of where it literally just a dialogue. Just I think it was another situation of like to get people to shut up about it.
No, in Rebels there's this gateway to the Force and like in often another plane of existence where like Ahsoka ends up traveling to the future to escape from Vader because Vader finds it on the Emperor's order and she disappears for like a couple years and then she ends up in the future because Ezra came back through this gate. It's a bunch of confusing shit.
She's supposed to be like 40, so she's still kind of young-ish in this series when she's going to be on it, right?
I mean, it depends because she's full grown adult in Rebels, and Rebels.
I'm pretty sure she'd be in her
5 years before A New Hope, so
she might be in her 40s.
She might be older than that, honestly, because she's actually hold on.
She was young when she was
about?
like young.
Okay. So once again, D, thank you. Ahsoka is it's Anakin Skywalker's Padawan, and Padawan means that's his understudy, basically.
Very talented in the Force. Very talented in the Force.
Okay, so Rebels is 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, so 5 years before Episode 4. So if this is what Mandalorian's like 15 years.
10, 15 years.
So yeah, she's in her 20s in Rebels. So yeah, she's about in her 40s.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
so she could still fuck shit up. So that's what I'm saying. Like she's still.
Ahsoka is like, so you know how you have the dark saber. Ahsoka has white lightsaber. She is what they call a great Jedi. She's a Jedi who does not subscribe solely to the light side. So she's balanced within the Force, kind of like Mace Windu is, just not in it as an aggressive standpoint. So her story is basically that she gets framed for this crime, and the Jedi, like every Jedi except Anakin, believes that she does it, and so because of that, she ends up like just leaving the Jedi Order even after she's found innocent. She's like, no, y'all didn't believe me. Y'all were so blinded to the light side and what you were supposed to do that even though the only person who believed me was Anakin, so she ends up just leaving the Jedi Order.
And that actually is one of the first catalysts that kind of like puts the doubt of the light side in Anakin's head. Too, because he was like, damn, what they did her like this. So
yeah.
They had a special relationship.
Where is Clone Wars in the timeline?
Between episodes 2 and 3. So it's between Attack of the Clones and so actually the very end of Clone Wars lines right up with the beginning events of Revenge of the Sith,
like perfectly.
So like when you're watching Anakin and Obi-Wan go attack Count Dooku, that is like happening while the very last episode or last 3 or 4 episodes of Revenge of the Sith is happening. I mean, of the Clone Wars season 7 is happening. So it's all like right in there. So it starts like the Clone Wars movie picks up right after Attack of the Clones, where Anakin has become a knight, and then Yoda plays this trick on him and Obi-Wan and drops off this Padawan, thinking that it's supposed to be Anakin's replacement, and she ends up revealing when she gets there that she's not Obi-Wan's Padawan, she is Anakin's Padawan. And so they have to go on this mission and save Jabba the Hutt's son and a whole bunch of other shit. But it spins off into this series where basically they did it as a way to force Anakin to grow up. So they give him this, like, instead of him just being this freewheeling general who does whatever the hell he wants, they're like, oh, nope, here's this preteen, you got to teach responsibility and shit, even though you're immature yourself. So that's kind of like
it kind of makes the prequels like make more sense and make Anakin's turn like a lot less like sudden. It kind of gives a little more context to that evolution as well.
Well, so. I mean, outside of Hayden Christensen's terrible acting in
and younglings.
Yeah, because the also going back to the prequels, there were like everyone hated Anakin's turn because when that was announced, we're like, okay, this is cool. We get to see how Anakin, goes and becomes Vader. Like I remember seeing that first poster of young Anakin, and then you have the shadow of Vader behind him. I was like, okay, this is gonna be dope. I'm hype about this. But the turn makes no sense in the prequel trilogy, like absolutely no sense. Yeah. So yeah. And once again, I know I need to watch Clone Wars, but yeah, that adds context.
I won't say it don't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me.
It seems rushed.
Actually, the main character, like having hate. So there's a rumor that George Lucas actually let Hayden Christensen write his dialogue in Episode 3, and if you watch these scenes between him and Natalie Portman, who's a great actress, and Ewan McGregor, who's a good actor, like you're sitting there watching these scenes where their dialogue is coming great, and then his comes, and it's like, dude, what?
It's horrendous. Like they made Anakin one of the most annoying, whiny people, and like this is supposed to be Darth Vader.
He's basically a 12-year-old that never grows up. But in the Clone Wars, they actually develop his character so much to where he starts off as this hot-headed, brash general who does whatever the hell he wants, and by the end of it, he's this caring, responsible, mature, like great Jedi that everyone thinks he is in Episode 3. Because I think there's like 10 years or. Mm-hmm. No, it's 10 years between 1 and 2, and I think it's like 5 or 6 years between 2 and 3. But Clone Wars treats Anakin's character development way better than the movies ever could have.
I think it's harder for y'all because you watched it with more care than I did, because I watched them but more passively than you did. So his turn wasn't that bad for me. I was actually excited to be like, oh, cool, this is how he became Vader. But I didn't, really pay attention to the nuance because
I'm actually with you. Like I wasn't I got
at the time I was like, yeah, well, I was also a child at the time, but no, when I kind of watched it and you watch Clone Wars, and it's just like it could have been done a lot better. It's one of those, the prequels are those movies that like 10 years later you watch and it's like, oh, this did not age well at all.
Yeah. Like I got more into Star Wars, like playing Knights of the Old Republic, watching Clone Wars, like that stuff. It was more after the fact that I kind of like was like, oh damn, this is like dope. And then like, but even like I remember like I ain't watched Revenge of the Sith in theater. Somebody burned it for me, and I just remember watching it, and I'm like, dog, these lines are so fucking cringy. Like,
I watched them in theaters, and people thought the movies were the best thing in the world.
Like, it made sense in 2 because he was like 18, 19, something like that. And he's like, he's forced into the way of the Jedi at a super late age. He's got this teacher who wasn't prepared for him, who he needed a father. Anakin was more like a brother to him or a strict uncle sometimes.
Qui-Gon was supposed to be.
Yeah, and you got him, and he's like, he now comes the only woman that he's ever liked who ever actually treated him like a human being. And now he's got these teenage hormones. So it made his characterization in 2 made perfect sense. In 3, my new empire, you're either with me or, and it's like, dog,
it's so corny. It's terrible.
Like, choking Padme out, and like you see Natalie Portman trying her best to bring to,
and she did great. Like she did wonderfully. She was awesome.
Dialogue is just like nails on a chalkboard. Like even watching,
but even her dialogue sometimes is just like, you broke my heart, and you're just like. But she's acting the hell out of it. But
I think all of that, they had to write their dialogue based off of what he wrote. Like I remember when it came out, like there was a rumor that was like, yo, Hayden Christensen wrote his own lines for Revenge. And I said it sounds like it because his lines are like so sophomoric and elementary, or either that or they dumbed his lines down so much because y'all remember when they tried to make Hayden Christensen a thing though? Like, because
they tried to make him like the guy.
Like,
for years after that,
Michael Murray type
trying to get him movies, and I'm like, no, he's not a good actor.
He's not.
Like he is terrible. They had that movie with him and who was it? J-Lo, where he was like dying, like they were doing surgery on him, and he was like awake during the whole thing.
I think it was called Awake.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, like that was the thing. Like
I just remember what's the movie called? Like Leaper? No, Jumper. Yeah,
Jumper.
That's one like Dakota Fanning or something.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Is that there were so many really good actors in the Star Wars movies. There were some excellent actors.
Everybody was good.
Because that man, they wanted him to be the guy, and he just wasn't the guy.
Like
he was not that guy at all.
Even the little dude they had playing Anakin in episode 1 is a miles better actor than Hayden Christensen. Like Hayden Christensen is probably the worst actor to great. Like when you look at some of the actors and actresses that have been in Star Wars, he is by far the worst.
It's like how and why.
You got great British actors like portraying them in the old stuff in the original series, like Daisy Ridley and John Boyega and Adam Driver all played their role. Like he's by far the worst. Like I can't think of anyone worse than him.
No,
except maybe
No, and that's the thing is like when you think about the prequels, I think the worst part is that they had everything set up to have potential. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that made it age so poorly is they did almost everything in CG when of course like the originals were in the 70s. Everything was like,
practical
props and all
effects,
that stuff. Yeah. So anytime you do CG, it's gonna age poorly no matter what. No matter because the new technology is gonna keep getting better. Everything was CG. Everything was CG.
I'll tell you one thing they did get right.
What?
The lightsaber combat.
Yeah. Because I was about to say, I still like Phantom Menace. Like, judge me all you want, and that's because that was the first Star Wars movie like I actually got to see like in real time, of course. Yeah. So when you see that Qui-Gon Jinn and
that movie was great.
Darth Maul fight,
that movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think
people hate it because of Jar Jar.
Yeah.
I think it's how they progress it. Yeah, the first one was not bad, I don't think, but it makes you mad because like there was a lot of potential with this.
And it was a new hope. Like it was still a new hope. Go to the planet, save the princess, destroy the round thing in space. Like the war ceremony. It was the same thing. It was a New Hope ripoff, but that's the one thing the sequel trilogies did terribly is the lightsaber combat. The lightsaber combat was absolutely ass. Mm-hmm. It's worse than the original trilogy. Mm-hmm. And I'm disappointed in that alone. But Clone Wars, Ronnie, which you should watch along with Digimon, Clone Wars also has great lightsaber combat.
How have you never seen Digimon?
I've seen the OG Digimon, but there's apparently there's a reboot or a remake or whatever you want to call it.
Devimon just showed up and super evolved and just started whooping motherfuckers' asses.
Ooh, I'm interested.
Okay. And War Greymon and War Garurumon get new forms thanks to TK showing up and using whatever power he has to manipulate the. Yeah, I know. I'm just telling Ryan. Watch it.
Anyway, it's just one of those things when you rewatch and you see what they've actually done with the Clone Wars and the comics. It's like they could have done a lot better with their prequel. I still don't think they should have killed off Darth Maul that soon. I think that was a poor decision, but
well, so the rumor is that there was that plays into the Jar Jar Binks rumor that they killed off Darth Maul because he was an illegitimate Sith apprentice. Like Jar Jar, like Sidious was the Sith apprentice and Jar Jar was the Sith Lord, and Darth Maul. Darth Maul was kind of like Ventress was to Dooku. Like he wasn't supposed to be the actual Sith apprentice. So there was that's why they did that. But I do like the turn they gave Darth Maul in Clone Wars. Again,
so Jar Jar was supposed to be bad.
Yeah, which would have been excellent. But then they just
go back and watch episode 1, but do it under the idea of Jar Jar is meant to be the big bad, and his actions
under the guise of like I'm playing stupid.
Yeah. Like his actions make so much. Like there's a scene where Jar Jar jumps up on one side. And then like they're shooting at him and he drops down on the other side. And like they're like, oh, that could have just been editing, but it's like, nah, George Lucas is pretty good with stuff like that. Like it was probably meant for he went up on one side, came down on the other side to deliberately get behind the enemy. It's like he's quietly brilliant when you watch it from the standpoint of, oh, they just think like the scene where I think he like has the gun on his tail and he's and the gun just ends up shooting like all the robots. It's like, yo, he wasn't that stupid.
I honestly, not anytime soon, but eventually in the future, wouldn't mind if they tried to reboot those prequels. But if they did it correctly, I wouldn't mind. I genuinely would be upset.
I've heard Disney has more interest in redoing the sequel series. Like they've said that there's been a rumor floating around that they want to go back to 7 and just redo it
this soon.
Yeah, because people are so pissed about The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker.
I just wish, like, my thing is, like, if they were a little too cowardly with how they drop, they get cowardly with some of the twists that they try to do. And I'm afraid with Disney, they might do the same thing instead of like going as dark as they could. So
I mean, if they would just give Dave Filoni the fucking keys to the movies, none of this shit would be in a fucking.
And stop switching up directors. Like that was the worst decision.
But as you can tell, that's all we have for the Mandalorian tonight.
Ain't nothing happened in this episode.
Yeah, nothing really happened.
I'm saying that I think it has consequences for the future. I might be wrong, but like again, I do trust the writers, and I think that we should remember certain things and keep it for the future.
So yeah, wait. To me, wait, Cord. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask. Do y'all think the beginning had anything to do with anything?
No.
Remember they got attacked in the beginning.
No, that's just their. So each episode typically starts with like a big opening, and that's just the opening of. So I think that was like is of no consequence, but like you said, Courtney, I think. But yeah, Courtney, what you say, I think what you said tracks, and like I said, I think it's those little moments that as you're watching an episode like this, you're like, oh, this is just another episode, but then stuff like that comes back around later. So I do think that's going to happen.
Rewired my brain.
Yeah.
I don't trust Jon Favreau that much. He's the one that wrote these first four. I don't trust him that much. Like I admire his directorial skills, but I don't trust him as a storytelling steward that much. Like I trust what he does behind the camera more than I do like what he does like as far as his pen goes. But I could be wrong because like I said, you telegraphing what's happening with Ahsoka with Dave Filoni. So and I could be wrong there, but I don't see why he would. Jon Favreau writes the first 4 episodes, and then Dave Filoni steps in to write and direct episode 5 when we all know his creation is rumored to be here. Like I don't know. That's my gut feeling. I don't trust him that much. I trust Filoni that much, but I don't trust Favreau that much. Not writing wise.
You'll see. I like I said,
Star Wars or period.
Period. I mean, now Jon Favreau does some good stuff. Like, if you haven't watched the Chef Show on Netflix, it's actually like really good. Like, it's him and Roy Choi going around the country. Like in the first season, they eat with the whole Avengers cast. Like they just at a restaurant in Atlanta eating with them. It's actually really good. Like I said, his cinematography is great. But as far as I haven't seen anything from him that has me like, oh, this is good, or oh, this was intricate and clever. Like I don't see it.
Yeah, his stuff is like he's like a perfect steward of like a franchise, but he won't like basically it was like Ben like he won't break it basically. So he's like a perfect steward of like a franchise. But yeah, that's like I said, that's all we got for this time. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about.
It's not bad. It's just
it's not bad. We just it's
40-degree day.
Yeah, it's a 40-degree day. Courtney, you need to watch The Wire so you'll understand that. But
I'm waiting until the Mandalorian. I'm waiting until November's over, and then I'm going to start The Wire. And I'll actually be live tweeting The Wire too, because a lot of people said they wanted me to. Apparently, so
at least one of you was watching a show you're supposed to have watched.
But anyway,
well, I made a Twitter poll, so people are holding me accountable.
But anyway. So yeah, that's all we have. Join us next Sunday at 7.
Once again,
same time, same bat channel. Rest in peace, Alex Trebek.
Yeah, R.I.P. Alex.
Also, fuck Donald Trump. Let's fucking go.
Trump. Fuck Donald
gang,
Trump.
gang.
One term and
fuck
done.
Donald Trump.
We got it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all we got. Until next time.
Peace.
Ronnie just straight up left.
Okay.
I was like, no, we just stopped. But he's like,